Gideon, there's nothing I hate more than arriving for the first time at a local cricket oval and seeing that they've replaced the beautiful natural turf with synthetic grass.
Why is that, Pete? Are you particular about the speed of the outfield?
No, mate. Obviously, I am, but it's worse than that. Synthetic grass releases toxic chemicals and microplastics that enter the atmosphere and our bodies.
That does sound pretty bad, a lot worse than a scraped knee, which you'll probably also get from playing on synthetic grass.
Yep. We're all starting to learn just how prevalent microplastics are in our environment, and getting rid of synthetic grass is just one of the ways you can reduce the harmful effects of microplastics on yours and your family's health.
For more information, check out the free and handy ebook created by Mindaroo at mindaroo.org/ebook.
Cricket et al. It's a website, it's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. It's Gideon Haig over here.
Peter Lawler over here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast, coming to you live from Yarra Park with a little bit of ambience in the background. We've slumped, exhausted after another relentless day of Test cricket, which has set this amazing Test match up perfectly for the final day. Australia is 333 to the good. They have one second innings wicket in hand. India will chase tomorrow. Both teams desperately need a win to prolong their World Test Championship aspirations. But it is, you wouldn't dare pick this Test match. Every time you think you've got it taped, every time you think you know what's going to happen next, it just pivots, doesn't it? Pivots.
It's just
constantly pivoting until it corkscrews into the ground.
It's the magic pudding, this Test match. It just keeps giving and giving and giving. What did you say? 333?
333. Triple Nelson.
Yeah. Would you have picked them being that far in front halfway through today's?
Not through today. But then again, I wouldn't have picked India getting as many when they were 7 down on the second day.
It was just one this way and that way, hasn't it, this Test match? It's just been an extraordinary day of cricket. So India arrived this morning 9 down, having done pretty well.
Very well indeed. Australia were desperate to conclude the final weekend. And there was actually a brief frisson, wasn't there, with that rather strange third umpire decision reprieving
one of the two
Siraj, who seemed to be caught at slip, but then unaccountably was reprieved by the third umpire. But fortunately, we didn't end up writing anything about that because it was remedied next ball.
Yeah, so they ended up 100 runs in arrears.
105.
When halfway through their innings, they looked like they were going to be considerably further in arrears. And then Australia went out, and look, kids were asking me as I walked out this morning, when will Australia declare? What do you think they'll declare on? And I had given it some thought. And I thought, well, Australia won't be in any rush at all to declare. They would like to push this game into the 5th day, still batting, because that puts the squeeze on India. Because India have to chase. They're not in a situation where they can just take a draw, right? Because the World Test Championship compels them to get a win here.
Neither team can take a draw, really. And the easiest way to make sure that you don't declare is to begin thinking about when you're going to declare.
Absolutely.
It's one of those perversities of cricket, because life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And
have you got the same calendar that I've got?
It's got Jasprit Bumrah on the front of it. And
that'll be the Cricket et al. calendar.
My word, he was good today.
Oh my God, he was good, wasn't he?
He's just compelling. He's bowled 9 spells today. He just kept having to come back and back and back. They were short spells. Actually, I thought probably Rohit managed him as well as you possibly can. But someone's just told us this is the first time he's bowled 50 overs in a Test match.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. An Indian fan who lives in America and just dropped by to talk to us.
And don't blame us if we've got that wrong. We'll take stats from just passers-by.
Yeah. So the first 7 spells, I just thought it had been genius. They brought him back on when, I think they brought him back on for 2 spells before lunch, in a short period before lunch, quick spell after lunch. Travis Head walks out to bat, so they bring him back on again from memory, and he knocks over Head and Marsh in the same over. at that point, you're just thinking, God, Australia in a world of freaking trouble.
Australia were 2 for 80, and they looked to just be putting the foot down, didn't they?
Labuschagne and Smith.
There was a period of about 10 or 15 minutes where you just got that feeling they were playing a little bit more expansively. They were running pretty hard. The check drives were going to the fielders, and then Steve Smith suddenly pinned the ears back against Siraj and edged a ball that he probably would have left even 5 overs earlier. Wasn't a great shot, but you could understand. You could understand the initiative. You could understand the context, even if the execution was flawed. And as you say, that was the time to whistle for Bumrah. I mean, Rohit sometimes is a little bit slow to seize the initiative, but he knew when to deploy Bumrah today. And Bumrah bowled an amazing spell, picked up 3 cheap wickets, and they weren't gimmies. Each ball was. Each ball was worthy of a wicket.
Oh yeah, some of the best bowling you'll see today. I think on a wicket from which Australia could summon nothing the previous day. So if you put it in context of what Australia had done on the third day, he was a level above, and he is a level above, isn't he? How many wickets now? He's entered the 200 club. He's
entered the 200 club. He's the first bowler in history to take 200 wickets at less than 20.
He's at 19 and a bit.
He's taken 70 wickets in 2024. That's where he'll finish, at less than 15. So these are new benchmarks for penetration and thrift.
What's he going in this series? He's going to average about 13 or 14, isn't he? For 24 wickets, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that,
it's just extraordinary. It's almost like, when he's not bowling, you're kind of waiting for him to bowl. And the batsmen sort of realise they have to make hay at the other end. Actually, the other guys bowled well today. I thought Siraj came back really well after a difficult first innings, 9 for 122. Akashdeep has actually gone a bit beneath the radar so far. India, I felt, has missed Mohammad Shami all this summer, or a bowler of his type. But as time goes on, Akashdeep looks a little bit more made to measure. He's strong, he's consistent, he's got great seam presentation, he's aggressive. He could have had a few wickets today. In the end, he hasn't broken through, but he kept up the pressure. They all did their part today in keeping Australia under the cosh.
So Smith was removed for 13. We thought that Smith might actually get his 10,000th run today, but
we'll leave that for another day. Thankfully, something else to write about. Didn't want too much to write about today, but Bumrah will do.
Bumrah into the 200 club was pretty good. Of course, you're burying the lead here. What about the kid Constance? What about the miracle of Sam Constance?
It seems a long time ago, doesn't it? Really does.
It's a surprise to nobody that he could not repeat the heroics of the first innings. India set a fly slip from the get-go.
They did.
And they
set him up. Bumrah set him up with a beautiful series of balls going away, and then he brought that one back in and hit the top of the stumps. And he does give you a little bit of daylight, doesn't he? When he plays, when he's on the crease.
Well, people say that's the one that he's a little bit vulnerable. So I'm not worried about that. That's something you can fix in your career, isn't it? You can get used to that. And there's no indignity in being bowled through the gate by Jasprit Bumrah, because a hell of a lot of very, very good batters,
such as Usman Khawaja, who was then bowled between bat and pad in the same way as he was at Brisbane, with that stiff front leg and that sort of slightly upright position. That's a sign of a batsman who's just getting on a little bit.
I'm worried about Usman Khawaja, to be honest. Yeah, I think Sydney might be his farewell.
Yeah.
He sends up all sorts of smoke signals and gets quite irritated if people suggest he's not going to do this or not going to do that. He sort of said, I want to play the World Test Championship final, should Australia make it. I can understand why he'd want to do that, but I'd also understand why the selectors might think, no, it's time to move you on and get some batting into somebody else, because there's a big series coming up next summer.
Yes, I mean, he actually could have been gone a bit sooner, wasn't he? Because he was dropped by Jaiswal in that position just around the corner.
He was dropped. That gave him another 20 odd.
It was a sharp catch, but it really should have been taken. Jaiswal should have taken the other 2 catches he got today.
He dropped 3 catches.
One at Silly Point off Cummins, and one One very costly one, I think, that little dab from Labuschagne. I thought maybe he was standing a little bit close at third slip, but really they are the kind of catches that you should be taking, and you certainly shouldn't drop three in a day.
It cost the team 60 runs, and it cost them the ascendancy in the game. Really, and Australia would have been at deeper shit had he held those, wouldn't it?
Yep. Anyway, Bumrah bowled this fantastic spell. He's picked up Travis Head on his birthday. He's picked up Mitchell Marsh, who looks.
Was it Travis Head's birthday as well?
It was Travis Head's birthday. Yeah. And
so he picked up Mitchell Marsh.
Picked up Mitchell Marsh, who looked very flat-footed. He looked a beat behind today, Mitchell Marsh. I noticed in the last 80 days. He's batted 9 times in first-class cricket, and he's got to double figures once.
Well, since making that 30-odd or whatever it was in the second innings in Perth, he has not reached double figures. No. I think he's made 20 from 5 innings, and you want more from him as a batsman, obviously, and you got more from him last summer. But going into this Sydney Test, he's a real issue. Would you take him to Sydney? Would you play him in Sydney?
Look, I probably wouldn't, because I think maybe runs around the corner for him, but the bowling side of it, particularly when you've had the bowlers toiling so manfully in this Test match, you really do need a fifth bowler who can pull their weight, and I'm just not convinced that he's going to be that bowler going into Sydney. I just want to take a second to do a quick PSA for all of our beloved Cricket at Our listeners. We treasure your loyalty, and the last thing we want to see is any cricket fan struck down in bad health. One thing that can increase your risk of developing issues like heart disease is plastic chemicals. It's hard to avoid plastics. They're in just about everything, but we can try to be more conscious about what we're buying, especially when we're giving it to our children.
That's my argument, exactly. Look, Stark is redlining. Yeah. Cummins has done a shitload of work, and they have more to do tomorrow. It's a really quick turnaround. Yeah. If you take those two in, you're going to be a little bit nervous, particularly around Stark. So you really like your fifth bowler is often supernumerary. Yes, I think. But in a situation like this, you're going to need a fifth bowler, and you're going to need someone. So you can just use those guys in short, sharp spells from one end or another end. But I can't see him. I can't take him to Sydney. I can't play him in Sydney. No. I think it's time for Bo Webster probably to come in. He's made 900 odd runs, didn't he, for Tassie last year? He bats very low for them, and perhaps even bat Carey in front of him, but he gives you two types of bowling. He does, and he does get wickets.
Does.
And I've got to say,
he's a good catcher.
And since Marsh hasn't taken a wicket since Perth, he hasn't bowled a lot, but
he hasn't really made the captain bowl him a lot because he's never really looked like getting a wicket.
No, so I don't think you're losing much by losing Mitch Marsh, and then there's potentially an upside to Bo Webster, more upside to him.
The only thing that you might consider for Sydney, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, we'll talk about this in due course, is do you want a fully fledged fifth bowler? In which case, do you include, say, a Sean Abbott or a Jai Richardson and push Carey up to number 6?
Sean Abbott's a possibility, yeah. He's had a really good time in first-class cricket in England as a batter.
Yep.
He can make runs with the bat. He's a solid bowler.
Yeah. I think Carey has been batting well enough this summer to justify a promotion on a one-off basis. If you want a fifth bowler, we need a result in Sydney. And maybe maybe there'll be a result up there, I guess. The only thing that'll potentially prevent it is the weather. Yeah, but we'll get on to the Sydney weather jokes in due course.
And you've got Labuschagne's starting to look good. Labuschagne batted well. Yeah. Well, did Labuschagne bat well today? I've never seen a guy miss more balls.
Look, but I think he held his shape each time. I think he guarded his off stump well. He was getting well across. He sort of resigned himself to being beaten. And he didn't chase the ball. That showed to me pretty good judgment. I mean, anyone would have struggled against Bumrah today. He was just so damn good.
Couldn't agree more.
The ball that got Carey, it's come back so far from around the wicket. It's come in with the angle and it's come in further with the seam. You might as well have been standing there with a celery stick.
That's right.
As a bat.
Yeah. He's done some real damage to some of those Australian batters. He's made Usman look older than he probably is. Yeah. And I think he's probably bowled Mitch Marsh out of this series, and and McSweeney, of course, is another of his victims. So he's done some real damage, but you have to acknowledge just how good he's been.
But then Australia did fight it out, and just as the tail made it difficult for Australia, Australia's tail made it difficult for India, which is a sign, isn't it, that once the ball gets soft after the 50 over point, batting conditions are pretty benign, even against someone like Bumrah. So that's an admonition, I think, for both sides. It's an encouragement to India to try and get through the early overs tomorrow to ensure that they got batting to come when the ball gets soft, and it's a sign for Australia that they're going to have to strike early if they want to make inroads.
So when Pat Cummins came out to the middle and the top order Marnus side had been raised for very little, I think Australia's lead was only around 240 at that period, wasn't it?
Yep.
Cummins made 41, did he?
No, he's batted really well.
Really well. Very interesting that Labuschagne protected him from Bumrah before tee, and I think they did that quite well. They were making runs and looking after him.
Yeah.
Then when Labuschagne is dismissed, Lyon comes in and I'll look after you, mate. Cummins is protecting Lyon. Yeah. But good on him for doing that because Lyon's played one of his great innings
here, really hasn't he? Yep.
He's still in.
Yep.
Gideon. Despite being caught in the last over.
Frankly, he hadn't threatened to make a run all summer, but he really dug in. Scott Boland supported him very commonsensically. There was a disastrous run out, wasn't there?
Oh,
that was a very strange run out.
That was, of course, Cummins and Stark, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
What did you make of that?
It's interesting how sometimes the presence of a bowler like Bumrah can kind of lift the intensity of a moment. That was the first ball of a spell from Bumrah.
Yeah.
So Stark pushes the ball into the onside.
Yeah.
And he wants to show willing. He wants to be determined. So he wants to come back and he wants to take Bumrah on. But there was never a second run there. The return comes in from the outfield. Pant intercepts it, throws down the stumps at the bowler's end. He's a little bit unlucky because fielders have been missing the stumps for the entire Test match, and you wouldn't expect a keeper of all people to hit them. But just when you least expect it, he knocked the stumps over, and Stark was well short.
It's a good point. Bowlers can get run-outs, can't they? I reckon it's Shane Warne, 06-07 Adelaide. Was it Bell?
Yes.
Who ran himself out there, remember?
And
they started batting like chooks with their heads and running around everywhere. Yeah.
So
I actually thought, I didn't think there was two in it. The minute I saw Stark take off for the second, I was saying, "What are you doing, mate?"
You didn't need two at that point.
No,
but he kind of just got caught up in the occasion.
Geez, he was cranky. He's cranky, Stark, at the moment, isn't he?
In the same way as I thought maybe Labuschagne just relaxed ever so slightly when Siraj came on.
Couldn't agree more. He'd seen off Bumrah's 115th spell. Siraj comes on, thank God I'm through that, and bang, you're gone. And he's prone to that a little bit. He's the sort of guy who gets out just after drinks breaks and things like that, or he's gone out twice to ready.
Yes,
and I think that's kind of, it's the fourth bowler. I can relax against him. But that was a great innings from Marnus today. I don't want to criticise him. I think he's still done the calendar year without 100.
Yes, but 270s in this game.
I'm not critical.
In against the best bowler in the world.
They're worth hundreds, aren't they?
They're worth hundreds.
Yeah, that one was worth a lot of runs today. Yeah. But the tail has really wagged. The tail
was fantastic, wasn't it?
I love tail end batting. Yeah, it's always fun.
Well, this pair, you couldn't get much earthier or more commonsensical than that pair.
Boland and Lyon.
Yeah.
But as you say, India were worn down by that stage, weren't they? And then the final indignity, of course, was Lyon nicking off to Bumrah. Would have been his fifth wicket.
Yep.
Was it who was the catcher? It was it KL Rahul?
It's Rahul, yeah.
Rahul. Yep. It's gone through his hands, stuck between his legs. He's claimed the catch.
Nathan's turn for the dressing room. Yep. He's accepted his fate, and then the fickle finger of fate intervenes. Yeah.
No ball. It was a no-y. And one of two no balls in that over. He was looking tired at that point. It was one over too many.
And he started that over with a full toss, and I cannot remember the last time that Jasprit Bumrah bowled a full toss.
No. Now, Sue called me about 20 minutes, half an hour before the end of playing, saying, "Why haven't they declared?" Sue wants them to declare. I said, look, there's World Test Championship finals in this, they have to chase the runs down. I'm happy for Australia to push it into a fifth day.
I tell you what, it'll be a great chase if they do get over the line. It'll be a record-breaking chase, won't it?
Yeah, and it's just what this Test match deserves. Yeah. Another 43,000 here today.
Yeah, yep.
It's broken the crowd record for a Boxing Day Test, which was an Ashes in about 2000. 13, something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
13, 14, I think we were at that test match.
We
weren't
probably
Yeah,
were,
we
Gideon. We've been at everyone for the last 100 years.
Gosh,
But, that is the Boxing Day record. So well done, Border Gavaskar Trophy. And well done to all the Indian fans who just keep showing up.
They do. They were as inexhaustible as Bumrah today, weren't they?
They've made it
really
a great spectacle.
Yeah.
And I've heard from quite a few Australians who get stuck in this sea of Indians. It's just great fun. They just bring this sort of verve to the cricket. I was talking to two chaps from Tassie this morning, from the northwest coast of Tassie. They said it's so much fun with the Indians in the crowd. They bring cricket to life.
Yep. Look, we're exhausted. We're exhausted, but we're going to pad up for one more day of this amazing gift that keeps on giving, this Boxing Day test.
We are. But did you enjoy your birthday?
I never enjoy my birthday.
But you're looking splendid because you got on your birthday jacket, your birthday T-shirt.
My birthday T-shirt, which Pete bought me last night, the Labour in Vain T-shirt. I got the green one.
The green one, so it's not the same as my black one.
It's very au courant, apparently.
And your stomach's full of birthday cake, which Cricket Australia kindly provided.
They did. They always remember, and I always pray that they don't.
It's my favourite time of year when the whole press box sings happy birthday to Gideon Hay, because the look on your face is priceless. I must get a video of the look on your face.
Why don't they celebrate Saeed Kiamani's birthday?
Or Travis Heads.
Or David Boone's, for that matter.
Anyway.
I was
happy birthday, Gideon. Happy birthday from all of the Cricket et al. listeners.
One of the Indian journos today asked me what was the best birthday present I'd ever received.
Yeah.
I said it was a day off at the Melbourne Test match where I didn't have to...
Did it finish early?
Yeah. But actually, the one that I remember is the day that Warnie got a hat-trick on my birthday, which recurs to me as 30 years ago today.
Is that 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to go. It's time. We need to get our rest. Oh my God,
a break. But we're gonna go around one more time. It's been great to have your company these last few days. We'll be back here tomorrow with the denouement. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from me,
and it's good night from him. Thanks for tuning in. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with a bit of advice.
That's right. We know the best bats are made from pure English willow, and the absolute worst bats you could get are made from cheap plastic.
It's not that you'll be scoring fewer runs, but you'll also be absorbing plastic chemicals and sending pesky microplastics into the environment and into our bodies.
Yes, microplastics are everywhere around us, not just flying off dodgy cricket bats. So check out Mindaroo.org for a free ebook that'll guide you in living a healthier life with less plastic around you.